Eamonn Holmes has always been the kind of presence that feels familiar the moment he speaks. Confident, witty, and warm, he has a way of making viewers feel like they're part of a conversation, not just spectators. His humor is effortless, his insights sharp, and his manner comforting, like a friend who has seen it all but still cares deeply. Yet even someone as poised as Eamonn can have moments that touch the heart in ways no one expects. It all started when he addressed the audience with words that felt different than usual. At first, the tone was calm, even familiar, but as he spoke, it became clear that what he was saying carried a weight, a depth of feeling that went beyond the ordinary. The people in the studio sensed it immediately. Eyes softened, breaths seemed a little slower, and when Eamonn continued, his voice carried not just information, but emotion, a rare glimpse of vulnerability from someone so composed. Behind the warmth and humor he usually projects, there was an honesty that made listeners lean in. His words weren't about spectacle, they weren't exaggerated for drama. They were simple, heartfelt, and deeply moving. Even the producer, someone usually unshakable behind the cameras, was affected. Their eyes glistened, and for the first time that day, the studio was silent in awe. It wasn't a reaction anyone expected, but it was a reaction that showed just how powerful honesty can be. Eamonn spoke about connections, about moments that matter, about the people who make ordinary days extraordinary. He reflected on experiences that resonate, not because they are extraordinary, but because they are shared. And in doing so, he reminded everyone listening of something crucial: the value of genuine human connection. What made it even more touching was the subtle humor he wove through his words. Even in such an emotional moment, he couldn't resist a playful quip or a wry smile that lightened the atmosphere. A small joke here, a soft laugh there. It wasn't to deflect the emotion, but to make it more real, more human. Viewers at home noticed instantly. Comments flooded in, filled with admiration, warmth, and affection. People weren't just reacting to what he said, they were responding to the courage it took to say it. To stand in front of cameras, in front of colleagues and viewers, and let emotion show is no small thing. There was a quiet romance in the moment, though not the kind of romance you read about in novels. It wasn't about hearts entwined or dramatic gestures. It was about the subtle beauty of care, attention, and presence, the romance of connection, the kind of love that exists between people who understand each other, who lift each other up, and who make room for vulnerability without judgment. The producer's tears were proof of that connection. They were tears not of sadness, but of recognition, of shared humanity. Seeing someone's honesty so openly displayed reminded everyone in that room why they care about these people at all. Not just the words they speak, but the authenticity behind them. Eamonn paused, letting the words linger. The room held its breath, not because of tension, but because of presence. The kind of presence that commands attention simply by being true. He smiled softly, acknowledging the gravity of the moment without overplaying it. And then, almost imperceptibly, he let a light-hearted comment slip in, an observation about how easily emotions sneak up on even the most composed people. It was small, but it made everyone laugh. That laughter didn't erase the tears, it made them lighter, intertwined with warmth and relief. It reminded viewers that emotion doesn't have to be heavy. It can be shared, it can be playful, it can bring people closer together. Eamonn continued, speaking about moments that have stayed with him, simple, ordinary experiences that felt extraordinary because they were meaningful. He mentioned laughter over shared mistakes, quiet understanding in moments of doubt, and the comfort of knowing someone is there, even when words are few. His voice softened, carrying a tenderness that was almost tangible, and in that tenderness there was humor too. He recounted a story of a mishap on a particularly chaotic day, a small mistake that could have caused frustration, but instead became a moment of connection and laughter.
It was a reminder that life is often a balance between the serious and the light-hearted, the heartfelt and the humorous. By now, viewers could see the impact. People in the studio were leaning in, fully attentive. The producer's eyes were still glistening. Eamonn's words had reached beyond the script, beyond the cameras, touching something deeper in everyone present. This wasn't about spectacle. This wasn't about sensationalism. This was about real emotion, shared openly and authentically, reminding everyone that connection matters, that laughter matters, and that being human matters. As viewers reflect on that day, they will remember more than tears. They will remember laughter, warmth, connection, the quiet romance of kindness and authenticity. If this story made you feel a little closer to humanity, a little lighter in heart, or reminded you to appreciate those around you, then it has already served its purpose. Because moments like these are rare, but when they happen, they are unforgettable. And if you believe that honesty, emotion, and connection still matter in a world that moves so fast, hold on to that feeling. Share it, celebrate it, and never underestimate the power of heartfelt words, a genuine laugh, and a tear shared among those who care.
After that unforgettable moment, life behind the cameras continued, but nothing felt quite ordinary anymore. The laughter and camaraderie in the studio carried a new depth, as if every glance and word had been gently reshaped by what had just happened. Eamonn, always quick with a joke, found that humor had a different weight now. It wasn't just about making people laugh, it was about making them feel seen. He noticed little things he might have overlooked before, a colleague's quiet sigh, a fleeting smile, or the small ways people show up for each other when no one is watching. He started weaving these observations into his daily interactions, often with a wink or a playful remark. Sometimes it was silly, a mock scolding for leaving coffee cups around the studio, or teasing someone about their dramatic reactions to routine emails. But beneath the humor was warmth and care, a quiet acknowledgement that life is richer when shared. Behind the scenes, conversations with colleagues became more genuine. People laughed harder, lingered longer, and allowed themselves to be vulnerable in ways they hadn't before. And Eamonn, who was always admired for his composure, found himself inspired by the courage of others. How small moments of honesty could ripple through the room and touch everyone present. He and the producer shared a quiet laugh about it later, joking that it had been the most emotional cup of coffee in studio history. Yet the laughter didn't diminish the importance of the moment. It enhanced it, showing that joy and emotion can coexist beautifully. There was even a light-hearted challenge that arose. Who could make the other laugh first without breaking the newfound emotional aura that lingered in the studio? It became a game of playful competitiveness that often ended with fits of laughter, hugging, or gentle eye rolls, reminding everyone that connection and fun are inseparable. At home, Eamonn reflected on the day's events with a soft smile. He thought about how rare it is to witness such authentic emotion, and how lucky he was to be part of an environment where honesty and humor could exist side by side. He remembered the tears, the laughter, the warmth, and how even a small moment of shared vulnerability can leave a lasting impression. Romance, in its own subtle way, threaded through these reflections, not the type that appears in novels, but the kind that exists between people who care deeply, even quietly. The tenderness in gestures, the shared glances, the gentle humor that softens the weight of emotion, all of it painted a picture of life that is intimate, human, and rich. Eamonn realized that emotion is contagious, but in a beautiful way. When someone allows themselves to feel fully, it invites others to do the same. Tears aren't signs of weakness, they are bridges. Laughter is the sunlight that follows rain, and together they create a landscape where people feel safe to be themselves. As the days passed, studio moments that might have been routine were now memorable. A shared joke over a spilled cup of tea became a story retold with laughter for days. A colleague's thoughtful comment sparked an impromptu conversation about dreams, passions, or memories that otherwise might never have surfaced. Even the simplest things, like adjusting a microphone or preparing notes, were infused with a quiet playfulness. Colleagues would nudge each other, whispering, "Remember, last time we laughed this hard, we cried too." And everyone would smile, knowing exactly what was meant. Eamonn found joy in these ordinary interactions more than ever. He noticed how humor and care could intertwine, how emotional honesty didn't overshadow levity but enhanced it, and how the bonds created through vulnerability became stronger than any scripted moment could ever be. There was also a deeper reflection that emerged, that connection, kindness, and empathy are what leave lasting impressions, not grand gestures, not dramatic announcements, but the simple, genuine ways we show up for one another. And in that realization, there was a subtle romance to life itself, a romance made of attention, laughter, warmth, and shared understanding. At times, Eamonn would catch himself smiling at something seemingly trivial, a colleague's silly joke, a shared memory, or the way someone quietly offered support without making a scene. These moments reminded him that life is a tapestry of small gestures, stitched together by kindness and care. The studio's energy shifted, too. People began noticing the emotional openness spreading gently throughout the team. Not everyone expressed it the same way, but the unspoken understanding was palpable. Laughter became more spontaneous, encouragement more sincere, and gratitude more frequent. Even viewers watching at home felt it. Comments on social media poured in, sharing not just admiration for Eamonn, but the way the studio atmosphere felt warmer, more human, more alive. People resonated with the idea that laughter, emotion, and authenticity could coexist, and that seeing it in someone they admired made them want to embrace it in their own lives. In private moments, Eamonn reflected on the beauty of all this, how small gestures, subtle humor, and shared vulnerability can ripple outward, touching lives in ways we might never fully see. He realized that a single heartfelt moment, shared openly, can inspire connection, trust, and joy far beyond the walls of the studio. And so, life continued, each day infused with a new awareness. Laughter was sweeter, honesty was braver, and human connection was more precious than ever. Eamonn carried the memory of that emotional moment with him, letting it guide the way he interacted, laughed, and listened. Because in the end, that's what makes a moment unforgettable. Not the tears, not the dramatic words, but the combination of laughter, love, care, and authenticity. That is what stays with you, long after the lights dim and the cameras stop rolling. If this story reminds you to embrace emotion, to laugh through vulnerability, or to connect more deeply with the people around you, then it has already served its purpose. Life's most powerful moments aren't always the grandest. They're the ones that touch the heart, make you smile through tears, and remind you of the beauty in simply being human.